Hello everyone, I'm Josh Malott and I'm one of the Co-High Adventure Directors here at Camp this summer.
And I'm Will Vincent. I am your other Co-High Adventure Director this summer.
And we're going to go over fire building, mainly focusing on the Matchless fires and some of the materials you will need for it.
Now the materials you'll need will vary depending on which methods you're trying to replicate at home. You'll need a magnifying glass,
some Flint Steel and Char Cloth,
a battery and steel wool,
a hot spark,
and no matter which method you're going to be using today, it's really important that you have lots of jute. You can find these at your local hardware store.
Okay, so let's go and get started and make some fires.
The first thing you're going to do is take your jute and pull it apart into nice, thin, wispy strips. What we're doing is making a bird's nest. Eventually you'll take your bird's nest and you'll put the spark or ember into it, and you'll use that to light your tinder. You'll end up with a nest like so.
This next method is going to be a hot spark method. What you want to do is go ahead and put some char cloth in your nest down here. You don't necessarily have to have char cloth, but it's definitely good to help accelerate the nest to burn. So what you want to do first is you want to get your steel and then your rod. You want to put about 45-degree angle on that and put pressure down and then strike it to get those nice little sparks. What your goal is to get the sparks laying on the char cloth itself, so you can close the nest together and then get the nest going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my rod nice and close to my nest, and I'm going to slowly spark. I want to get the sparks on that char cloth to get that char cloth lit. And once you get that char cloth lit, it's going to start becoming ember red. And that's when you want to close it up and start getting a little bit of air. Long, slow breaths. And a little bit of back and forth motion to really get this nest going. And be patient. Sometimes it takes a minute. As long as smoke is going, the fire will follow. And there we go.
So when you go to use a magnifying glass to start a fire, you need to make sure that it's sunny outside. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to refract a good beam onto your char cloth. So you want to place the nest out in the open, have char cloth right in the center, and you're going to focus the magnifying glass and get the light in the center as fine as you can until it starts to smoke. And it'll start to turn that char cloth a nice ember red. Then you'll pinch it in the nest and start blowing into it. Keep it above your face. That way you don't get smoke everywhere. Just wave it around, give it a nice gentle breeze, and pretty soon it'll light up. There you go. The next method we're going to cover is flint and steel. Now, this one you are going to need char cloth for. It's not really optional. You definitely need it. When you go to strike your flint, you're going to look for the sharpest corner on it that you can find. And you're going to take your steel and strike it across. Keep in mind, you don't want to do it at an arc. That's how a lot of people start out. You want to go straight across and shave the metal off of the knuckle buster. When I use flint and steel, I prefer to stand, but if it's more comfortable for you, you can take a seat while you do this. You're going to position the char cloth right on the top there. Now we have that ember red. So you take your nest, and just like before, we'll nestle it in there, and there's smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. We can go ahead and move on to the next one.
This next method is steel wool and battery. The process behind it is you get your steel wool and you want to thin it out really thin. Because if it's too thick, it won't catch. So once you get it out really thin and wispy, you're going to take this steel wool and put it on the two rungs of the battery. Once you get it, it will turn ember red, and you'll put that in your nest. You do not need char cloth for this method. But first step, you want to get the steel wool and wisp it out real thin. Because if it's too thick, it won't get going right. So you want to get real thin and thinned out. But first, before I get it going, it's important to note that this burns very fast. Once you touch the wool on the battery, it'll start glowing red. And once that red goes out, it will be like looking at this shape. And once it's already burnt once, it will not burn again. As you see, this one lights for a second and then goes out. So once you use steel wool once, you cannot use it again. So use steel wool, I wisp out nice and good. You're gonna put it on a steel rungs of a battery and it's gonna get going. You wanna hold on to it for a second and then put it in your nest. Once you put it in your nest, it usually gets going pretty quick. And you can see how quickly the steel wool catches the nest itself. So you want to be prepared to have the tinder ready to go. So now we've shown you 4 different ways to light nest using matchless methods. Now we're going to show you how to transition from the lit nest to the tinder itself. It's a very fast-paced process, so if you have to rewind this a couple times, that is okay. So before I get it in the lit, once we get the burning nest, it has to be quick, and you have to get that tinder on quickly, or the nest is going to burn up as soon as you get the nest lit. So we can get the nest lit, and we're going to put the tinder directly on, so we can get that tinder going as fast as possible. So just like before, I'm going to strike this nest and get this one going. Yep, just like before, we're going to blow on this nest to get it going. Give a little bit of air.
And you want to put all the tinder right on the bulk of the flame. Don't worry about dousing it out. This nest is going to light really hot. You should be more worried about getting the firewood on there. And once your tinder's lit, it's just like all the stuff you learned at Scoutcraft. And that should about do it.